Welcome to Wayward Writers, our very first episode, all about who we are, why we're here, and the community we hope to create. We're so glad you could join us for this episode of the Wayward Writers podcast, where we want to help you conquer your path, wherever your writing takes you. I'm your host, Heather Cashman, here with my amazing co-hosts, Nicki Jacobsmeyer and Stephanie Bierce. So let's get to it. Nicki, tell us about your writing path and where it's led you.
All right. Well, it's been an adventure, I'm sure, like most of you. And went to college, got a business degree, raised a family. And when they went off to school, my husband's like, "What do you want to do?" And of course, I said, "I want to sleep, clean the house,
Yeah, no.
do things by myself. And he's like, "No, what do you want to do?" And I've always loved being in business, but my heart and my passion has been writing. And when I was little, I would, you know, be a reporter on certain things and write different poems and things like that. And I said to him, "I want to be a writer." And he's like, "Go do it." And so from the get go, he was very supportive. And so I just went and I learned and I met great people along the way, like Stephanie and Heather. And it's been 10 years and it's been amazing. I write for adults and children, both fiction and nonfiction. My two books that are published behind me are both nonfiction. One is a history of a town I grew up in Chesterfield, Missouri, and the other is about the Iditarod dog sled race. And I have enjoyed diving into what I love. And just like everyone's journeys, there's been hiccups and challenges along the way. Something that's really near and dear to my heart that you can usually start to find in my writing, especially now I am ready to talk about it, is mental illness and things I experienced with postpartum depression. And writing has been like a balm to my soul. And it is something that I don't just want to do, I need to do. My family and close friends, these two will know if I haven't been on the page because I just don't feel myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've been. I was volunteered in different organizations and it has been a wonderful experience just to meet other people and make connections and network. Really love the fact that we're finally getting back in person because I think most of the opportunities that I've been blessed with have been because I met someone and they knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. And those things definitely happen in person. So I'm excited about being here. I'm excited about this new community that we are working to build and to cultivate. So how about you, Stephanie? How about your path?
Well, mine's sort of similar, only I'm old, so longer. But
You're not old.
I am, but it's all good. So I wanted to write. I was the little kid who wanted to be a writer, like, forever, but, I was told that you couldn't make a living at writing, and there's might be some truth to that. It is a hard road to make your entire living with writing. But it was something I always loved so much. So I just never gave up, even though I went into the teaching profession, which I think is a good profession for those of us who like to write because you're always learning and teaching others. And so I just kept trying. I had my first books published about 20 years ago, a long time. And I was so excited. I'm like, I am on my way. And then unfortunately life intervened and my husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer and passed away. And so I was left as a mom with two little kids to raise and to teach. And so writing really took a back seat there for quite a while. But I remarried and the kids amazingly grew up and got more independent.
Not allowed to do that
You
without
think they
permission.
aren't, but then sometimes I'm like, please, please, please grow up. And so I was able to go back and I've been really fortunate. In this next year, in 2024, I will have 7 books coming out next year. And so that will make 35 books. And I have an amazing agent whose name is Heather Cashman. So,
Yay.
and there's been a lot of ups and downs to get where I am. Heather is my third agent, so third time's the charm. But it's worth it. It's worth the heartache. It's worth the craziness of the industry, which I think if anybody's been in writing for a while, it is a crazy industry. And I'm excited because there are more paths than there used to be. Lots of people used to just have to be traditional or indie, and now you can do both or a mix of things. And it's very exciting. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm doing this podcast and helping to build a community that helps to support writers wherever, whatever path you're taking and wherever you are on the path. So, Heather, how about you? Tell us a little bit about how you came to be on this writing journey with us.
My path is kind of different because, like both of you, I started out to a completely different field. I have a degree in biochemistry. I worked in a plant sciences lab and started having a family. I started writing when my kids were younger as an escape because it was the way that I talked to adults
Yeah.
was through my writing. Once I completed my first book, I thought, "Oh, I've written a book. I'm going to get published." And that was reinforced by all of my family and friends who knew nothing about publishing. So I started querying and I started getting loads of rejections or just not answers and all that kind of stuff. And so I really started getting frustrated and thinking, why? Like, why isn't my work getting attention or getting like a, hey, this is good, but not for me or whatever? And so I started studying literature just on my own. I started studying why things became great works of literature, what made them great. And so as I was doing that, I really started thinking about my own writing, honing my own writing, and then also working with critique partners and things like that, which I think is essential.
Yeah.
And then that led me to just get into a community of people. I started working with Pitch Wars. I became an intern at the Bent Agency. I started listening and learning from people, from agents, from authors. I became a professional editor at an editing house. So I was doing all of these things to really figure out craft and figure out the industry itself and how it worked. And then while I was on the conference circuit with all of those things, I met Nicki from Storm Literary, and she was looking for an agent. And that is how I became an agent, was by connecting with her, and absolutely love championing these amazing books that I could never write myself that need to be out in the world. Like, these books need to be out in the world. And I'm so grateful that I can help them find a place in the world. And then I also now have an agent of my own as well and am on submission trying to
Yay.
be fully published. But, we never know where our paths are going to take us, do we?
Yeah.
Not at
You're
all.
So
not.
I
Not
never
at
thought I
all.
would start a podcast. So there you have it.
That's
I
right.
would
We just
agree
never
with
know.
that one.
But that's part of what's exciting is experimenting and finding different paths. And it's that opportunity to take those different paths that we have, take advantage of it. What do you think, Nikki? Why do you write? Since, I mean, we all write for different reasons. I started writing when I was a kid. You said you write some for mental health, but why do you keep writing even when there's so many challenges? It's like, it's hard to get published. What keeps you writing?
Well, I mean, for me, besides, mental health, find joy in it. I'm sure there's days that are not joyful. There's parts in the process that aren't. But generally, I mean, it is just creating something that part of you, but also beyond you. And we can connect with different characters and settings. And I think it's important that you know your why, and your why can change. You can definitely
That's
change. Like earlier, it's to talk to adults because I'm with kids all day, right? So
Yeah.
the why I think definitely evolves, but I think it's important to keep it in why am I writing? Why should I go back to it? My dad he was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer out of the blue. And it was, this whole life changing thing. And, after that, why do I want to write? Like, why make the effort? But it just constantly brings you back, to wanting to share stories. And sometimes you don't
Yeah.
even know what they are, right? You start a
Yeah.
story thinking, oh, I'm going to write this, and it changes this whole thing. I think it's a self discovery process.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think,
It is for
it's a,
me.
yeah, it's learning. I find something new about myself every time I go to the page. And I think readers find something about themselves every time they go to
Yes.
read a
Hmm.
page. And there is something so magical and
Yeah.
inspiring about words.
It
So,
is.
I mean, I think that, whenever you get a rejection, or I recently, my agent and I split ways on great terms. She's wonderful. But those things that you just don't see coming, you go back, why am I doing this? Why do I want to keep going? So I think that's for me. I don't want to stop learning. And so I will continue to go to the page to keep, that's one of my medicines to keep happy. And there's others also, but like also just that self discovery. So
What
how
about,
about you guys?
yeah, what is your why? Why do you keep in this crazy, capricious business?
So I have a few reasons why, actually. One is because when I have experiences that I don't understand, then either I don't understand the world and why the world is doing things, or I don't understand why I'm reacting or feeling a
Mm.
certain way about something. I can take that to the page and I can write a story that's based on that thematically. And it really truly helps me process how I feel about a subject by analyzing it through a villain's point of view, some random friend's point of view. And it truly helps me process my emotions and also really try and research and understand other points of view.
Yeah.
The other reason that I absolutely love writing is because, and this happens to me all the time with my clients, they'll send me a book and I'll read it, and it's about something I've never experienced before, or it's about one of their experiences that I will never experience. And it's a way for me to open my worldview. It's a way for me to see someone else's feelings about a certain subject or things that they've gone through that I may never go through. And it's a way for me to understand other people. It's a way for me to connect with other people. And as an agent, it's a way for me to get those stories that are extremely meaningful and bring us together. This is in my bio on my professional bio. One of the things I say, and I truly mean it, is that I love books that empower people and I love books that bring us together as citizens of the world. And I
Mhm.
truly feel like there are books that can do that. And we need that in the
Yeah, we
world that
do.
we live in. We
Yes.
need to understand other people and perspectives. And I just think that there's no other job that I could do that would do that so well, and also teach the rising generation, and not teach didactically, but
Right.
just open minds and hearts
Mhm.
and connect people.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
one of the wonderful things about writing and stories in general. Just that's how we
Yeah.
communicate. And I think that's why I know that's why I write, is because I feel like story is how we communicate with each other, really. From campfire stories, all the stories handed down for generations, oral storytelling. I mean, that's how humans communicate. And for me, that's how I've always communicated, whether I'm teaching a class of little ones or talking to friends. We relate in the stories that we tell each other. And so whether I'm telling an oral story or I'm writing a story, I feel like that's how I communicate with the world. is through my stories. So you can learn from me and I can learn from you with your stories too. So yeah, that's part of what draws me into writing and stories of all kinds.
Yeah, it just like
Yeah.
opens the world. It's like
It
when you open
does.
a book, right? I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, but like you're traveling or
It
you're,
is.
going somewhere else and that is just it's a wonderful thing.
I'm just able
Go
to
ahead.
experience each someone else's emotions and the difficulties and the trials that they've gone through, and then being able to share yours too, sharing perspectives. I think it's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, and it doesn't have to be like I'm going to Rome in this book. I mean, I
Right.
think that when I was reading picture books to my own children, it reminded me what it was like to be a kid. What is
Mhm.
it like to be 5 years old again? And when you read a book with a 5-year-old
Yeah.
voice in that picture book and you think about what does this kid really love and what is their world like? And even in that, it just helps you relate to your kids or maybe someone who's elderly or someone who's in healthcare or I mean, it can be anything. We have these massive aspirations to bring world peace and whatever through books. The publishing industry, I have to say, makes it somewhat difficult to do that as an individual writer. So I kind of want to just talk about for a minute why we decided on the name Wayward Writer. I actually pulled up the definition of wayward, spelled Wayward here, and that is not how we spell it. We spell it Way-Word, wayward. But anyway, I want to just talk for a second about the uses of this word, and I think that every single one of the definitions applies. So the first definition is difficult to control or predict, which publishing absolutely is.
Yes.
It fluctuates
That's a
in the
synonym.
market.
Synonym.
Yeah, it's market driven, it's buyer driven, and so a lot of times people go through things and it's unpredictable what we're going to want. I mean, I think COVID proved that.
Oh yeah.
We no, nobody knew what we were going to want. Nobody knew that, gardening backlist books were just going to absolutely explode. Nobody knew that. And so it's very, very difficult to control or predict. Okay, the second definition is following one's own capricious inclinations or ungovernable. So obviously,
Oh yeah.
anyone want to think about that?
I the whole industry is ungovernable, and then sometimes we writers are ungovernable too. If you've ever had a group of
Ab-
writers together, it's like herding cats. Not easy.
yeah,
But that's okay.
yeah,
We are all unique individuals and we're all a little bit wayward. So maybe we fit with the
yeah.
industry.
And even the writing process is ungovernable sometimes.
It
Like
is.
sometimes when our emotions are just spilling out onto the page, it's not something you even want to control necessarily. It's something that gets real, and that's neat.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next one is following no clear principle or law, which I think is similar to the one that we just
Yeah.
talked about.
Hmm.
And the last one is opposite to what is desired or expected. That can go both
Oh,
ways.
yes.
That can go negative or positive.
Yeah.
It's opposite to what's expected, opposite to what's desired.
On a personal level, right? When you go to the page, I think sometimes that's an internal thing. Like I expect
Yeah.
my plot to go this way, or this is the
Yeah.
character that's going to have this arc. And then we all know sometimes we come out of it and we're like, well, she decided or he told me it's not happening or whatever it
Right.
is, right? And I know other people that aren't writers are like, what, what's going on? But I mean, this happens and they become their own thing. I think sometimes it happens even between us and our work too.
Well, and it
Yeah.
it happens in all parts of it. It happens in your work. It happens when I have this fantastic manuscript. Everybody's going to love it. It's like, no. Or I have this thing I don't know. And then somebody thinks it's amazing. So you can't predict sometimes. And sometimes it's exciting. The thing that you
Yeah.
never expected to work is phenomenal. So there's surprise and
Mhm.
capriciousness, and it's wayward all the way around.
Well, and as we talked about before, our reasons for writing can change. Your
Yes.
creativity, your emotional state can affect your writing. Even the writing itself can be a struggle. The rules of writing, we break the rules of writing. Hopefully you know how to use them first, but they get broken. And anyway, so
Yeah.
as an agent, I study and study editors. I talk with them. I read their wish lists. I read the books they've acquired, and I'll tell you that I will send them something I think is absolutely perfect for them, and they don't want it. And then I'll send something as like a last ditch effort to like, I want to give this one last chance
Yeah.
because I love this manuscript so much. And it will sell to the person that I was not expecting it to sell to.
Yeah.
So,
That's part of writing. We're dealing with people. Sometimes we think
yeah,
we're just when we're here on the computer and we think it's just me and my paper and my story. But we're dealing with all sorts of different people. We're dealing with publishers or editors. If we're self-publishing, we're dealing with people to market, and there's just so many people involved. Who's going to read the book? Who's going to buy my book?
How will it be received?
Exactly. So that's part of, I think, and that's part of why I'm excited about starting this community, because it is about the people. We think of writing as being solitary, but it's really a people business, because
it is absolutely.
we are actually working to reach the heart of our readers, and our readers may be an editor, they can be a kid, they can be a romance reader, but we're working with people. And the way to work with people and get to know them, we hope, is to build community. And that's what we're trying to do here with Wayward Writers. And so we hope you guys will come along on our big adventure.
Very much so. So, I mean, let's talk about the, uncontrollable, unpredictable. How do you both face that as writers? And what do you do to keep yourself trudging through, keep going?
Well, you got to count every single win as a win. And I think too, there are some really big wins that carry you for a long time. But at least for me, that happens. You know, Sometimes I'll have a book go to auction, and that just makes me so happy. Like that, I know that the book is going to do well because there's so many people who want it. Or, even sometimes just like yesterday, someone sent me a picture book and it literally made me cry. I just sat there and
Oh,
I wept because it's so beautiful.
oh,
It was
cool.
just so beautiful and it touched me so deeply. And that's a huge win. Like to me, that's a huge win. Like my author has written something that's just so touching. And those are the things, the big and the small that carry me through, and remembering the why,
Yeah.
remembering why I'm doing this.
I think that's the
Yeah.
key for me, is you have to go back to that why, and maybe discovering your why is what can ground you. If your why is to be on the bestseller list, you're going to be really not, well, you might be happy. I wouldn't have been still writing, but when that why is to tell stories and to share stories and to, why you're doing it. And I think even if it's discouraging and you got a dry spell, you can go back to that why when it's really deep in you. Like Nikki, you were talking about that part of your why is for your mental health too. So I'd imagine that keeps you going back to the page.
And I mean, sometimes, if my mental health isn't great, it's harder to get to the page. Some days, whether you're struggling with mental health, it's hard to get to the page, anyways. We talk about critique groups and critique partners, which are amazing.
Hmm.
And, I also love having an accountability partner. And this doesn't even have to be a
Yeah.
writer, just someone to be like, hey, what did you write today? Or what did you write this week? And like, it's totally out of love, but like, sometimes when you have to tell someone
Yeah.
yes or no, that can change things, it may not for you, but also if someone asks you your why, that can change it. So I encourage you to ask your critique partners, ask yourself, why am I doing this? And why,
Yep.
why do I continue to, because those things that you can control, like getting to the page
Hmm.
and sharing your work, making connection. They talk about in business SMART goals, the acronym, you know,
Yeah.
R is realistic. Like, is this a realistic goal? Getting on the New York Times bestseller list, at least for me in my stage on my path, is not a realistic goal. Is it attainable? The A. What I can do is by this date, I'm going to finish this manuscript and, go on query submission. Those are things you can control
And
entirely.
keeping the joy, keeping the excitement
Absolutely.
and the fun that you felt when you first discovered that I can make a story, and
Yes.
just trying to keep that joy in your writing and joy in your life as a whole. That'll go a long way.
Yep.
I have to say that that's why I wanted to start this podcast is because I felt in my own self that I needed support. I mean, I'm surrounded by writers, but I also am all day being a cheerleader and I'm being an advocate and I'm working and I'm striving to build other people up. And at the same time, I feel that need in myself. And my agent is amazing and she builds me up. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like in this business, we all need a community. We need
We do.
cheerleaders. We need
Yeah.
people who we can discuss writing things with. We need people who are going to understand what it's like to be a writer and not just a new writer. I think we need a community that is designed for the established writer who is going to understand what it takes to really make it in this business. And I hope everybody listens. I think it will be beneficial to every kind of writer out there, whether you're self published, whether you are traditionally published, whether you're changing your path, whether you're a hybrid publisher, no matter if you have written your first book or your 10th book, that's really the community we want to build is an uplifting community that helps writers stay on the path that they want to be on.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
mean,
Stephanie, tell us about some stuff we're going to offer.
I'm so excited about something besides this podcast, which will be weekly. We'll be dropping a new podcast every Tuesday. So look for us, and we're going to have all sorts of different things. We've got authors have the next few episodes are going to talk about the traditional path, the indie path, the hybrid path. And we're going to talk to some amazing authors who are on each one of those paths. But in building community, we want people to be able to meet each other in person, human, flesh, flesh to flesh. Hey, say hello. So we're going to be having some in-person retreats. Look for those to be advertised. They will be small and intimate retreats because we really want to have people get to know each other and to be able to help each other. So
Want to keep them
Yes.
affordable for people.
that is a major goal because we know the writer's budget is not always huge. And so we want to make it so that it's as accessible to as many people as possible. So we got some other stuff. Heather or
Yeah,
Nikki, you want to tell us what else we
yeah.
got?
We've got a monthly newsletter that we will have that'll have all sorts of fun goodies and resources and things like that. Definitely go to our website, waywardwriters.com, and it's way dash word, WORDWRITERS.com,
Good job.
waywardwriters.com. And you can sign up for our newsletter. You can also, go to your podcast platform and sign up to subscribe to get our podcast that'll come out every week on Tuesday. And also, we're going to have a social media community. We want you to go there. Please share your why. Tell us, what keeps you going. We want to learn from each other. We want
Yes.
we have our, support people, but we also, right, let's broaden our
Yeah,
circle and meet new people and new eyes on our work, new hearts to,
absolutely.
just share things because our path, we don't know what it looks like down the way. And this way we can all learn from each other. So definitely participate. We want to get to know you. Let us know who you are and how we can help. What are you looking for that you haven't found? That's why we're here. That's why the three of us started this and
Yeah.
why, we will continue to just chat, the three of us, if that ends up, just because we are looking for that support for the established writer that, to fill the needs that you have.
And if there are needs that you have, we hope that you will let us know about those too as well in the comments.
Plus,
Yes.
as one of the things we're also hoping to do is to provide classes for you at, again, once again, at an affordable cost.
Yes.
And those will be available. We'll be gearing up and adding more courses as you tell us what you want to learn. Please let us know. Are there certain areas that you need help? We'll find a way to get you some help. So we really want to
Yeah.
have communication with everybody. So talk to us. It makes the community grow.
Absolutely. And just remember, we're not going to just be talking about craft. Craft is awesome. We're also going to be talking about publicity and marketing and mental health
Yes.
and wellness.
And
And I mean,
physical wellness. Yeah.
yes, a plethora of things. Because as we all know, we wear many hats. So remember, you can find us on waywardwriters.com. Sign up for our free newsletter, and we will see you next time.